Hello everyone, welcome to the Vietnam War 360 channel. Today, we continue our exploration of feudal Vietnam history during the period from 1400 to 1572. Dai Viet underwent two dynasties, the H Dynasty, the L Dynasty, and for 20 years, it was under the Ming Dynasty's suzerainty. After the H Dynasty seized power from the Tern Dynasty, H Ku Lai ruled for only a year before abdicating the throne to his son, Hn Thang, while still retaining decision-making power. He reformed various aspects of governance, including laws, education, military, and taxation. In 1402, the generals of the H Dynasty sent troops to attack Kyamph Nh Kampa, and its king surrendered territory in exchange for peace. H Ku Lai relocated people from elsewhere to settle and develop the newly acquired lands. Meanwhile, in China, the Ming Dynasty learned of the H Dynasty's usurpation of power and claimed to act in the name of restoring the Tern Dynasty by attacking the H Dynasty to advance against Dai Viet. Officially, the H Dynasty paid tribute to the Ming Dynasty and followed the practice of submission, but they continuously reorganized their military and fortified defenses to confront the Min forces. In April 1406, the Ming Dynasty sent 50,000 troops under the pretext of reinstating a member of the Tern Dynasty to establish a new state. Upon receiving this news, H Ku Lai immediately dispatched troops to Kai Leng Pass to intercept them, capturing and killing a Ming general. The Ming forces, underestimating the H Dynasty due to their smaller numbers, suffered a defeat and were forced to retreat. Angered by this outcome, the Ming emperor devised further plans to attack Inu for a second time. In September 1406, the Ming Dynasty sent 200,000 troops to invade Inu. One army advanced from the north, and another army advanced from Yunnan. The two armies quickly penetrated deep into Inu. After 2 months, the two armies converged at Bchhc, setting up camps on the northern bank of the Sangsi River, extending to Phgiang. The Ming troops, under the pretext of restoring the Tern Dynasty and overthrowing the H Dynasty, inscribed messages on wooden boards seeking descendants of the Tern family to reinstate them, and then floated the boards down the river. The Inu army retrieved many of these wooden boards and understood the intentions of the Ming troops. Combined with the discontent towards the H regime, many soldiers and officers were unwilling to resist the invaders. Many of them surrendered to the Ming forces and were granted titles and positions. These individuals then revealed the H Dynasty's defensive positions to the Ming. By June 1407, the Ming forces had advanced to Tien Bnh. H Ku Lai and his son, having no escape, were captured. Some officials surrendered to the enemy, others were captured, and some jumped into the river to commit suicide. The H Dynasty, which had ruled Inu for 7 years, officially came to an end. H Ku Lai was a talented individual but lacked loyalty, having killed many and usurped the Tern Dynasty. As a result, he was unpopular, which became a weakness that allowed the Ming to easily defeat him. Once again, Vietnam fell under northern rule, becoming a district of the Ming Dynasty, and the lives of the people plunged into hardship and suffering. During this time, the Ming Dynasty imposed Chinese culture on the Vietnamese people and levied various taxes, causing immense suffering and discontent among the population. Many uprisings occurred during this period, but they all failed. In 1418, L. Li from Than Ha initiated a rebellion in the Lam Son Mountains, which became known as the Lam Son Uprising. He called on people everywhere to join forces against the Min army. At that time in our country, the Ming army had occupied with 50,000 troops and hundreds of elephants and horses, ruling over Vietnam. For 5 years, the two sides engaged in small skirmishes, but due to their weaker forces, L. Li's troops always had to retreat into the mountains to hide. With scarce provisions, their situation became increasingly difficult. On one occasion, he even had to kill his own war elephants and horses to feed his soldiers. In 1424, L. Li led his army into Nghn, and over the course of more than a year, he captured the southern citadels, gaining control of a vast territory. In 1426, Le divided his forces into 3 divisions to advance northward. Wherever the Lam Son army went, they maintained strict discipline, winning the support and loyalty of the people. The Ming general had to request reinforcements to fight the Lam Son army. The first wave of reinforcements, over 10,000 troops, was defeated by the Lam Son forces before they could arrive, forcing them to take refuge within the citadel. The Ming forces had to gather troops from various citadels, amassing an army of 100,000 to attack the Lam Son army at Ttng, which is now in Chang'an District, Hanoi. Ambushed and encountering a trap, the Ming army suffered a major defeat, with 50,000 soldiers killed and 10,000 captured. Upon hearing news of the victory, Le immediately ordered his troops to advance near Quan and set up camp to besiege the Ming forces in the citadel. In 1427, the Ming army announced that they would withdraw if Le installed a descendant of the Tern Dynasty as king. Due to the urgent situation, Le agreed. He tasked someone to find Tern Cao and enthroned him as king, while Le himself assumed the title of protector of the nation. However, the Ming forces did not withdraw and instead requested a second round of reinforcements from China. 150,000 Ming troops, divided into 2 divisions, advanced into Dai Viet for the second round of reinforcements. Upon hearing this, Le dispatched 2 armies to ambush and intercept the reinforcements. In the northern campaign, the Lam Son army pretended to lose and retreated, abandoning several northern citadels. The Ming forces quickly captured these northern citadels, forcing the Lam Son army to withdraw. Seeing this, the Ming general became overconfident and, with only a few hundred men, advanced to attack Xjijiang. However, he was ambushed and killed by the Lam Son forces. Seizing the momentum, the Lam Son army defeated nearly all the reinforcements, sparing only a few who were allowed to return to China. The Northwestern Division, the Ming reinforcements in the northwest, upon hearing the news, were terrified and retreated to China, but were pursued by the Lam Son forces, who defeated over 10,000 troops and captured a large number of horses. The Ming forces in Quan, upon learning that their reinforcements had been defeated and routed with no survivors, sought peace and requested to return to their country. Le agreed, choosing not to kill them. Instead, he provided ships and horses for the Ming general to take his troops back, thus maintaining peace between the 2 nations. In 1428, King Tern Cao, realizing he lacked the support of his people and had not contributed to the defense of the country, fled. Le ascended the throne as emperor, known as King It, and established the country as Dai Viet, with the capital in Kin modern-day Hanoi, establishing the foundation for the early Le Dynasty, which lasted nearly 400 years from 1428 to 1789. Later, he embarked on the establishment of both central and local governance, fostering economic growth, education, and promulgating laws and regulations, opening up a prosperous era for Dai Viet. Every 3 years, Dai Viet still had to send tributes to the Ming Dynasty once. However, in terms of politics, the Vietnamese people still maintained autonomy. This delicate balance of tribute payment ensured peace for the nation. When King It ascended the throne, he rewarded the courtiers and reformed the education system by opening examinations to select talented individuals to serve the country. He also distributed land to all people throughout the country. It was a talented king who expelled the Ming invaders and stabilized the country. However, due to his suspicious nature, some meritorious officials were unjustly executed during this period, such as Tern Nui and Hn. In 1433, King It passed away after 6 years of reign at the age of 49. Crown Prince Nui and Long, who was only 11 years old, ascended the throne and became King It. Although young, King It was very intelligent and cared for the people. In 1442, the imperial examinations for scholars were introduced, and those who passed had their names engraved on stone tablets at Vien Hu to uplift the people's spirits. Today, This historical site still exists at Vien Miu Cuc Tgm in Hanoi. King Elth I Tieng ruled for 9 years, ascending the throne at the age of 20. Then Prince Biang Si, only 2 years old, became King Lin Ann Tieng. The governance of the country was entrusted to talented courtiers maintaining stability. In 1448, Muang Fuan in Laos requested to be incorporated into Dai Viet as Chu Ku Hph. In 1453, Lin Ann Tieng officially began his reign. He posthumously honored those who had rendered great service and allocated land to their descendants. 6 years later, Lgi Dien killed King Lin Ann Tieng and the Empress Dowager, proclaiming himself king. Lin Ann Tieng reigned for 17 years, ascending to the throne at the age of 19. Lgi Dien, upon becoming king, executed many court officials, earning the resentment of the people. Within a year, he faced a rebellion led by high-ranking officials, resulting in his downfall and death. The son of King Elth I Tieng was then installed as king, known as Elth Nh Tieng. Due to the crime of regicide, Lgi Dien is not recognized in historical records as a legitimate king of the early L dynasty. Elth Nh Tieng was an intelligent and filial king who treated his officials with fairness and wisdom. During his reign, the political situation in the country was very stable and prosperous. He led troops to quell the enemies in Campa and Laos, expanding the territory and making Vietnam more civilized and renowned. From ancient times until now, the country had never been so prosperous. After ascending the throne, Elth Nh Tieng appointed officials and allocated land to those who had rendered great service. He exonerated Nguyen Trai and other unjustly executed loyalists from earlier times, and arranged for their descendants to be found and granted land. In 1479, he commissioned Agnes Lien to compile the complete annals of Dai Viet, covering the period from the Hgg Ming Dynasty to the reign of Elth It, and to redraw the map of Dai Viet. In 1480, the king of Campa sent troops to invade. Elth Nh Tieng personally led the army to counter the invasion and divided Campa into several administrative regions for easier governance. During this period, all the southern states were required to pay tribute to Dai Viet, and seeing this, China did not initiate any wars. Elth Nh Tieng reigned until 1497, passing away after a 38-year rule at the age of 56. The crown prince Tieng ascended to the throne, becoming King Lin Tieng. He was a wise monarch who maintained peace and fostered sustainable development for the nation, along with his queen. However, after reigning for 7 years, he passed away at the age of 44. His son, Thun, ascended the throne as Ltc Tieng, but died after only 6 months as king. Subsequently, the L dynasty was passed down through 5 generations from 1505 to 1527. Although they were descendants of the L family, they lacked talent and virtue, indulging in pleasures and vices, and engaged in power struggles, killing loyal officials, which led to widespread resentment among the people. Rebellions and southern disturbances arose, and no one managed to maintain control. After more than 20 years of turmoil, Mac Dong, starting as a minor military official, helped restore peace, but also built up his own power, becoming very influential. Seeing his weakness, King Lkiu Tieng had to flee the capital, but he was later captured and killed by Mac Dong. In 1527, Mac Dong became king, known as Mac Thai Ti. The glorious era of the L dynasty ended, and the country entered a period of civil war and power struggle between the descendants of the L family and the Mac family. This period is referred to as the early L dynasty. The L dynasty lasted for 100 years from 1428 to 1527, known as the early L period, with 10 kings reigning. This was a significant era marked by historic military achievements, affirming the determination for self-reliance and the aspiration for independence of the Vietnamese people. Economic, political, and cultural development were prioritized and flourished, leading to the expansion and prosperity of the nation, opening up new horizons for growth. After seizing power from the Ho Dynasty, the Mac Dynasty ascended the throne to rule the country. However, due to the people's resentment, the reign lasted only 3 years before King Mac abdicated in favor of his son, Mac Don, and returned to his position as a retired emperor. In 1540, Mac Don passed the throne to his son, Mac Tieng. When the Ming Emperor learned that the Mac Dynasty had usurped the L Dynasty, he used this as a pretext to invade Dai Viet. Knowing he couldn't win, Mac Dong surrendered, tying himself up and offering treasures along with the northern border territories to the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Emperor accepted this and withdrew his troops. He sacrificed his personal honor for the sake of the nation to avoid war. Dai Viet, nominally a vassal of China, remained independent and self-governing in reality. Nguyen Kim, a court official of the L Dynasty, found the legitimate heir of the L Dynasty, Dui Lin, and supported him to become the king, known as L Trang Tieng L Trung, HGG. In Tui and Quang, there was also Lord Bu, who rose up against the Mac Dynasty, seeking support from the L Dynasty to overthrow the Mac Dynasty. After several unsuccessful attempts, it was not until 1539 that Nguyen Kim managed to seize territories in Than Ha and Ngh. At this time, Dai Viet had 2 kings, King L and King Mac. In 1545, Nguyen Kim died, and his son-in-law, Turn Kim, assumed leadership. In 1554, Turn Kim led troops south and captured Thun Ha and Kung Nam. The entire territory of Dai Viet was officially divided into 2 regions, with the boundary being the present-day Ninh Binh province. For over 30 years, the conflict between the Ho and Mac factions remained unresolved. In 1556, King L Trung Hgg passed away without leaving an heir. Despite Trinh Kiem's desire to claim the throne, he listened to the advice of Nguyen bin Kiem and therefore sought out L Tieng, a descendant of the L Dynasty, to ascend to the throne. In 1558, Nguyen Hoang, the second son of Nguyen Kim, fearing being killed by his brother-in-law Trinh Kiem, sought refuge in Thun Ha in the south. After stabilizing the situation, Nguyen Hoang supplied troops and provisions to support the king in fighting against the Mac Dynasty. This pleased Trinh Kiem, who then appointed Nguyen Hoang as the administrator of the southern region, requiring annual taxes to be paid to the L king. In 1570, Turn Kim passed away, and his son, Trinh Tung, succeeded him. In 1591, Turn Tieng led over 50,000 troops to attack Thang Long Citadel. The forces of the Mac Dynasty were defeated and retreated. However, when the Turn forces reached the Hgg River, they were unable to cross it and had to withdraw. 2 years later, Trinh Tieng's forces attacked the Mac Dynasty again and achieved victory. King Mac was killed, and Trinh Tung's army occupied the northern regions up to Thai Nui N. However, remnants of the Mac Dynasty still held onto a northern territory. King L Ting's procession to Thang Long Citadel marked the milestone of the L Dynasty's restoration. At the same time, the power of the Turn family was elevated to the title of Lords of the Trinh, consolidating their authority. However, in the first 30 years, both the L and Mac sides continued to engage in numerous battles without decisive victories in the north. What will happen next? Will the descendants of the L family defeat the remnants of the Mac family? How will the history of Vietnam unfold? Let's find out in the next video. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to watch further. Thank you very much.